All right, joining us on our Ford Performance NASCAR Media Zoom call this week is Chris Buescher, driver of the number 17 Fastenal Mustang. Off to a good start here, Chris, a fourth place at Daytona, 13th last week at Auto Club. We've got them lined up for you here, so we'll just kind of kick it off with questions, take advantage of the time we have here this morning. And let's kick it off with Nathan Solomon. Nathan, you're on the poll. Go ahead, get us started.
Awesome, Chris. Thanks for joining us today. Obviously, a small sample size so far, but just leading laps in the Daytona 500, having strong finishes in these first couple of races, how does that build momentum through this early portion of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good start for us, right? The Daytona, we knew we'd be fast down there, and we always have been, but we were able to finish it out this time, and that makes a big difference. Don't have a trophy to show for it, and a little bit bummed about that still, but still a really solid beginning there. Going out west, last year was especially difficult with the new car, very limited practice. We were fighting a lot of tire issues. We ended up with some really rough finishes out there. Even though we ran better than where we finished, at the end of the day, it did not set us off on a good start for the year. So we're in a much better place now. Fontana ended up running pretty decent. Missed a little bit on the start and really would have loved to have had some practice, as would everybody. But after that, we feel like we have a decent idea going into Phoenix. Brad did the test there a few months back and was really happy with the race car there in the new package. So I think we have a lot of good things coming at us here, and I feel like we're in a good spot to head out west for the next few weeks and keep that momentum going as we come back to the home coast.
And then with Auto Club this last Sunday and then Las Vegas this Sunday, how important are those two races in terms of a measuring stick to kind of gauge speed at intermediates for the rest of the season?
Yeah, Fontana's hard just based on the asphalt condition, the lanes, the seams. It's a fantastic racetrack, and I'm definitely bummed that was the last one there. But I don't know if it's a true read for many other places other than maybe Homestead as we head later into the year, but Vegas will be very important to look at because it does have a lot of similarities to a lot of the other mile and a halves that we will be going to. So this will be a good test this weekend to see where we stack up here, what we need to work on, and what we've done right through the work through the off season.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move on to Marty Sakala. Hey, Marty.
Thanks, Dan. Chris, appreciate the time, man. So kind of following up on Nathan's first question, your win at Bristol and the overall team performance that RFK Racing had during the night race, was that the big spark that team needed heading into the beginning of 2023 where you guys are right now in the top 16?
It was surely the biggest spark, I guess. I would say really it hit us a little bit early in the year. Probably Dover. We got our first pole there, ran really well that whole race, and a track that we had not been the best that we've been decent at, but hadn't had that real great speed there in a long time. So I think that was a good kick in the rear for us. And then we headed through the summer months and into the end of the season and felt like we were hitting at a lot of racetracks that haven't been our strongest. Richmond was fantastic. Our road courses were very strong. Bristol was just the time that we finally put all together and had the most to show for it, right? And showed it for ourselves and everybody else. And I think that was the big one that said, all right, we're in a good spot. We can win these things. Now it's figuring out how to get more. Went through the end of the year. Brad got the pole at Texas, a mile and a half, which was probably the style racetrack we struggled with most during the season. So that was really, really optimistic there heading through the off season. And now we feel like that Vegas is probably the good test to see where we stack up, where everybody's gone through the downtime and where we'll be hitting it off here.
I guess continuing on with Vegas, what has prep been like coming into this weekend? Ever since you've been with Jack Roush, you've got one top 10 there at the track. And I know you're trying to improve your stats at Vegas, but you finished every race pretty much there with Roush on the late lap.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely shooting for a whole lot better than that, right? And it's trying to figure out how we can get across the bumps. I think our feeling, and I would imagine it's pretty similar across the garage, is if we didn't have tire issues from Fontana, which has historically been very hard on every tire we've ever had, we're probably not going to see them going forward into a Vegas weekend now. Does that still keeps on our toes for some of the right side issues at the Texas Motor Speedways? Maybe, but feel good about this weekend not being something that we're going to be concerned about there. With that, Vegas is going to be nice and cool, so speeds are going to be up. It's another fun racetrack. We're able to move around a lot there. We have a lot of choices. The bumps into one are really rough, especially in this car, and so we'll be focusing pretty hard on those to figure out how to get them better. And then actually some of the wildest restarts I felt like we've seen last year came from Las Vegas. So definitely be on our toes for that as well, ready for 4 and 5 wide, just going back and watching the races last year. So it's bound to get a little bit wild out there, but try and play what we can and be ready, and try and have another surge forward like we were able to get last year.
Appreciate it, Chris. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Marty. Making his debut with our call, I'd like to welcome Brian Mino. Go ahead, Brian. Ask your question for Chris.
Thank you. Hey, Chris, Brian Mino from Victory Lane Network, Argentina. I have 2 questions for you. The first question, what doubts do you have of this season after Daytona and Auto Club?
Say again on Daytona and Auto Club. What was the question?
What doubts do you have of this season?
I feel like we're ready to go. We've got a lot of excitement for a lot of different styles of racetracks. If we take Daytona and the speed we had there, that's obviously not something that really transfers into many of the other racetracks. But Auto Club was solid, and feel like that. Both of our cars ran really well. The 6 was securely in the top 10 there at the end. So this West Coast swing is tough. We get another 1.5 miles and then a 1 mile call to short track if you want, but a lot of different styles of racetracks coming up. So we get a lot of racers get a read on where we're at here, and then from there we got to just try and dial it in once we get back to the East Coast and see if we can really start working on it. We're kind of in a box as we go out west that we just don't have the ability to tear everything apart and start over that far away from home. So it makes it a little bit difficult, but I feel like we're in a good place to go out there, just ready to get through the next 2 and see where we stack up and get home and take a look at it and see where we can get better.
Last question. What tracks do you think you can win with the next gen car?
I would say that Bristol was obviously kind of a hit for us, and concrete racetrack. So Dover was strong for us. Road courses were extremely strong last year, with the exception of COTA. And I think the only reason that is because it was our first one, and we learned a lot after that race or during that race that put us on the correct path for all of the others. So I've got road courses circled pretty high up on my list right now. And then a track that I've been telling everybody to fill with water for years and years was Richmond. And then we went there and had a really solid run last year. So trying to get my attitude changed a little bit around that facility, and feel like that's another great opportunity for us as well.
Chris, thank you, and good luck in Vegas.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. The doctor is at the house. Dr. Zoltan, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, Chris. What are your expectations about the new aero package for short tracks and road courses?
So I was not one of the drivers at the test. Brad was, though, and I think that we came back and were able to talk a lot about the different things that ran through the different options. I guess where we ended up in the package that we will be running, I'm not sure exactly which one that was that they ran out there and talked about. That being said, it seems like that the general consensus was everything that was being done was trying to get the cars to move around a lot more. And I think that's what we're hopeful for, is harder cars to drive, more movement. That will probably come at a expense of some corner speed, mid corner speed, which is fine. Straightaway speeds will come back up. So I feel like that the idea is to try and make the racing better. It wasn't shied away from that. Our short track and road course races weren't as exciting as we would like them to be, and a lot of the drivers. We had our complaints about dirty air being an issue at tracks where we typically did not talk about that. And all these steps were implemented to try and get us away from having those discussions of hard to race around other cars, or dirty air being issues at slower racetracks. That way we can get the cars tightened up a little bit, have more passing, put on a better show at the end of the day, and be more competitive. So I don't know without running it my exact answer yet, but my hopes are very high for everything that we've done.
Yeah, thank you. And how do you like the longer restart zones? I mean, we have a very small sample size, but we had a big crash at Auto Club Speedway. So, and also we are in the middle of a 5-race test period for it. Do you think longer restart zones should stay for the rest of the season?
Yeah, it's a little early to make a final call. What I will say is I think it was pretty widely agreed upon that the leader has earned an advantage every week, and that being in the restart zone and it being so small at a lot of places was ultimately letting the rest of the field predict what the leader was going to have to do in that smaller zone. And to be fair, the leader should have an advantage, right? It's other series will put the leader out in the first row all by themselves and then start double filing them. Some series will let the leader choose their lane, and then the entire field just has to fill in odds and evens side to side. With our choose rule, we have a lot of options, but it does put the leader at somewhat of a disadvantage. So with the longer zones, I think that is trying to combat that and give them a little bit better opportunity. From what I've seen at Fontana and the big accident we had there, it was not the leader's fault. It was, in my eyes, that was another car trying to predict what the leader was going to do and take away their advantage, and ended up stacking up the field and making cars further back pay the price for it. So I think it's going to help get rid of the loss of advantage for the leader, but there'll probably be some growing pains with it as well. And we don't want to see the torn up race cars, and we need to be holding everyone accountable for laying way back and getting the big runs and trying to time everything like that. That's been a rule for a really long time, and I think enforcing that along with the restart zone being larger will help clean it up.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move on to Greg. Hey, Greg Engel.
Hey, glad I could make it. Inside joke. Hey, Chris. It's hard to follow Dr. Zoltan there. I mean, he was asking about the same question I wanted to ask about the new format. I forgot Brad was at the test. So that obviously you got some great feedback from him, right? About the different packages, and you weren't sure about which package they finally ended up with. But let me ask you a question. Whatever package that was, when you look at the simulator and you talk about the simulator, how close are you guys able to dial that into the simulator? In other words, so you can kind of get an idea of what it's going to be like.
I haven't done that yet. And to be fair, a lot of our simulation work has been post races right now. And a lot of the reasoning behind that would be simply the fact that this new next gen car has created basically a blank slate, and has been very tough to figure out how to make it simulate. I guess, for lack of a better, is tough, right? I do not envy the individuals that are trying to program numbers to make a simulator drive like a real race car. I can't imagine the level of difficulty there, and I know that it's very hard to get correct. And so most of what I've been doing through simulation has been post work, so that we can come in after a race event, go into the simulator and figure out how to make it as realistic as possible. What do we need to keep working on to make this more realistic, so that hopefully soon we can be working it to use for more preliminary work. So I guess from that standpoint, I have not done what you're talking about yet. I don't know how feasible it is. I would say at this point, there's probably a way to get it in there and get an overall read on it. And it's actually something we may be talking about for this. So it's something that has become a big thing in our sport, right? Is simulators and simulation. And we're going to continue to improve them and get them better. And I know we're excited to get rolling on them and get it out into where we can use it for preliminary work. But it's got to figure out what exactly we did. I know they went through so many different packages, and for lack of time, is my understanding, through a lot of different things at the car at one time. And so they kind of pulled their favorites out of those changes, combined them, took some away to make something that the owners were happy with, the drivers were happy with, and that NASCAR was happy with. So sounds like they came with something that was pretty close to what they were planning on from leaving the test, and excited to see how it races. It sounds like there's a lot of potential.
Quick follow-up. You were strong at the road courses last year. So do you view this package? I mean, is it kind of worrisome in a way that it's going to take some of your advantage away? Is it a reset? Do you feel like you will have lost your advantage or not?
I would not believe so. I think that I think so much of short track racing and road course racing and what makes you good comes from geometry, from mechanical grip, what you're able to tune into the car. So the aero effects ultimately are going to affect everybody the same, right? If we're all losing so many counts of downforce, then so be it. We're all the same. We're still going to work on the mechanical grip side of it. So will it make the racing a little bit different and close it up? Then also making it a little bit easier to pass cars. Maybe that's good for us. So no, I'm not looking at it as something that I'm upset about, even though those were the stronger races for us last year. I'm still looking at it as a good opportunity to make our racing better and to make us more capable of passing cars when I felt like we should have been able to get by them last year at those events. So I'm excited for it.
Thanks, pal. Have fun this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, Chris, we've now come to the Indiana University Alumni Association part of the call. We'll kick it off with Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin, and we'll follow with Bob afterwards.
Thanks. Hey, Chris, same tire this weekend at Vegas as was used at Auto Club, also was used at Las Vegas last year, and used at Kansas. And in the Kansas and Vegas race last year, 15th place finish for you, 13th place finish at Auto Club. I know it's not all about tire, but it's certainly an important aspect. What are the things that you guys are, you seem to kind of hit a spot where you're kind of in that 13th to 15th spot. What needs to happen to take that leap into a top 10 type of performance with this car, with this tire, particularly like this weekend?
I think for us, I would say it's not so much based around the tire, right? It's something that we've been worried about for longevity of it. I think we've gotten it dialed in to where we haven't had failures at all these racetracks. So it's just a matter of getting our balance better for our short runs versus long runs. It's really exciting to see Brad run well inside the top 10 at Auto Club, and definitely felt like there was some gains made there that we're all studying, and feel like we can help apply to what we've been working on the 17 side as well. So I would say it's more or less still just setup development, right? It's what can we do to be a little bit better at these places? How can we maximize our short run speed and our long runs, and not give up long run speed? as we have been able to get some green flag stops towards the end of last season, and then already at Auto Club. That we got tired of staying underneath us here throughout runs, and we're learning to be smarter with our choices. That we're going to be getting into those longer runs, and that's something that we're working on to be better in those, so that we can hang on further into a race. Because we felt like at Auto Club we should have been, we were capable of running about 10th, and then just long run speed really hurt us there. So trying to hone in on that a little bit, so that we can keep it later into a race, and be ready for some of those longer runs that are inevitably going to start coming back around now that we're starting to get a handle on this new car.
And looking ahead to Phoenix with the package, but you also got the 50-minute practice session added. I know drivers love practice anytime you can get it, but with what you can do with this car, and in 50 minutes trying to learn things, even with everything simmed out, what is the value, or what is that practice going to mean for you guys?
Yeah, it's a big help, right? Anytime we have such a massive change, we need to be able to get what we can, and that's a big help for us, is getting that early practice in. Would love to have a split practice as well. Something that gave us a little bit of time to make some rather larger changes if we needed them. That would be my only thing that would make it better. But it is sure nice not to be rushing through a 20-minute session that, ultimately at a Phoenix would mean 3 runs, and kind of rushing through your changes at that point as well. So it is appreciated when we have some massive changes coming. You take what we can get. So we had a lot of these 20-minute practices with a completely new car last year, and I don't think any of us felt like it was enough then either. But we had a few choice ones in there that were longer, and I'm glad to have it for Phoenix here with the package updates.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Dustin. It looks like the sun is shining on Bob this morning, wherever he's at. He's probably, I don't know, are you out on the West Coast? Are you in Vegas already, Bob? It looks like the sun is up early and you're getting going.
Yeah, I'm here in Vegas, and not too many options for lighting here, the hotel. So, but I wanted to go back to the restart zone, and you kind of answered it, but is this something that you feel like does NASCAR need to get involved in, as far as drivers laying back, or if there continues to be wrecks, will drivers just not stop doing it?
One wreck at Auto Club out of the I don't know, dozens of restarts that we've had to begin the year, it's a pretty good percentage, right? Now, as seen through my eyes, the cause was very specifically cars laying back and trying to time it and take a stab at the leader. So it's a rule, it's already in there that you're not supposed to lay back. They talk about it fairly often. We don't see it enforced very often. Usually it comes in the form of a random warning, and then spotters will tell us that they're on it today. So I feel like you always, it's gray area, right? We don't want people telling us what to do on every aspect of it, but also it is a rule, and feel like we try to play pretty tight by it and not lay back, and try and get those runs. And just watching back through the Vegas race from last year, there were cars that laid back 2-3 car lengths and completely shifted the rows so that they could have a run at the start finish line. That's why we've seen some of the 4 or 5 wide restarts there last year. And I think that if we're gonna call it a fair sport, we do have to hold everybody accountable when the rule is already there. So does that I guess at the end of the day, the laying back, I don't think is specifically going to connect to the longer restart zone. I think that's kind of a separate deal that probably needs to be tightened in a little bit, as as it's been a while since it was last given warnings for, and probably need to remind everybody that is a rule, and that we do have to be staying closed up when we're coming into the box.
And you lay back so that you can get a little bit extra momentum, right, on the person next to you. Is that in general that you can make it past probably before the start finish even?
It's the car in front of you. With double file restarts, you're almost never concerned about the car next to you. It's about the car in front of you. The problem is if you try and stay, within a car length of, kind of a typical restart length away, and you get going to restart and you run the same speed as the car in front of you and the car behind you laid back. When you get start finish on, they have a very easy opportunity to put you 3 or 4 wide in the middle, and then you pay that price for not playing their game. So it's a slope and a slippery one at that. And as soon as 1 or 2 cars start doing it and everybody sees it, it becomes necessary for everybody else to do it to be able to defend if it's not going to be called out for not correctly executing a restart.
Thank you.